This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of our longtime friends. I ain't gonna call him an old friend, but it's like old home week here at Troy University Television, because we've got the former mayor of Montgomery and former congressman and now congressional candidate, Bobby Bright. He's all our friends up here. Bobby, good to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Steve.
We used to have Bobby on all the time when he was in Congress before, and he would be dutifully come be on the show with us. And every time he comes up here, Ronnie and them remind him of how he helped get the funding for this station here in Montgomery when he was mayor. He was mayor of Montgomery for 10 years, so everybody in Montgomery knows him, but he's retired from politics for about 7 or 8 years now, and he and his wife, former district attorney Lynn Clardy Bright, live up in Elmore County, and we got Bobby out of retirement. He's going to go back to Congress again.
That's right. That's right. If the people put me back there, it'll be up to them, and I hope they look on us very favorably. And a lot of folks are indicating they are at this point in time.
Well, Bobby, you're looking young.
Well, thank you very much. You are too. You know, I'm a lot younger than you are.
I know. I mean, we was talking about before that. Y'all in the Wiregrass. Remember Dexter Wood and Ellis Beck and I were all the same age. I played high school football at Troy, and Dexter and Ellis played high school football at Ozark. And Bobby played 1 year behind us in the football. And old Bear Bryant signed both Dexter and Ellis.
And Wilbur Jackson.
And Wilbur Jackson. Wilbur was in your class, though.
Wilbur was in my class.
He was a year behind. You know, he was real kind of green because African-American boys didn't play any Pee Wee football.
That's right.
See, we had all played Pee Wee football. He had just some unbelievable raw talent, but he didn't have the training we all had.
He never had played football until he came to Carroll High School in, I think, 1968, if I'm not badly mistaken.
Did he grow up in Ozark?
He did. He did. And
had you known him all your life, just about?
No, I never knew him. Didn't know anything about him until he showed up one day to practice football with us, and he had never picked up a football that I know of. He told me until he started playing football with us that year.
I believe that because we knew of his raw talent, but he was not.
You know what he did before he played football? He was a baseball player, and we knew he could play baseball, but had no idea he could play football. But we did know that he could run.
He sure could. We knew that too.
He could run.
We knew that at Troy.
And he was big too, and he was a big, fast runner, and that's what you need to be in football.
And Bryant saw that.
He did. Come down and recruited him personally down in Ozark. I remember the time we had a really good football team that year because of Wilbur, and we had a great quarterback. Wilbur played wing back, and I played split end. So people would sometimes double team him, and the quarterback would throw to me. Every once in a while, they'd think I was a threat, and they'd double team me, and they'd throw to Wilbur. But Wilbur was a deep receiver. He could get down the field, and I was a short receiver. So we made a pretty good team.
Oh, who was the coach at Carroll at that
time? Tom McClendon.
He was still his coach.
Yeah, he was still the coach there. And great guy, and he was really a mentor to me and all the boys that played.
Old Joe Adams claims credit for recruiting Dexter and Ellis.
He should, because he wrote about him every weekend just about in his paper.
He was saying, Joe Adams, newspaper Joe says, Ozark calls newspaper Joe and lawyer Joe. One lawyer Joe, and he said, see, you know the folks in the Wiregrass because you're born and raised there. You actually grew up on a farm, didn't you?
I did. My daddy was a sharecropper.
You were on the ag committee when you were in Congress, weren't you?
I was on the ag committee. So was Bill Dickerson, so was Terry Everett, and then I carried on the tradition. We spent over 50 years on the Ag Committee and over 50 years on the Armed Services Committee, and of course we don't have a representative on those committees.
You want to go back to those two committees, don't you?
We've got to go back to those committees because, Steve, do you know the largest employer in the state of Alabama? Farmers. They employ more people in the state of Alabama than any other employer.
Probably second district too, isn't it?
And second district is probably very dependent on agriculture, peanuts and cotton and corn and all the other products.
Probably the armed services is important at the second district too.
And the armed services, we were on there for over 50 years, and so many veterans, retired veterans that come here by way of Maxwell Air Force Base and Gunner, and also by Fort Rooker, they come here, they love the living conditions and the environment, and so they'll retire out and stay right here. We've got more veterans in District 2 than any other district in the state of Alabama.
I'm not surprised. And they're fluent. They're all former officers and that sort of thing. You know, I actually was, I forgot, you left the mayor's job to run for Congress,
I
didn't
did.
you? But so you never ran against Todd Strange. He was just succeeded you.
No, Todd came after me, and he in a special election, and I think he's done a wonderful job. Todd's a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine before he ran, before I left to come to, and I knew that if he got in there, he would be an excellent mayor. And he's carried on our plans. We had a when I first took office as mayor back in 1999, we had a 10-year plan, and then during that 10 years. We first 5 years we had completed over 70% of the projects that we had set out, and then we put together a 20-year plan, and then we were in the process of completing that plan. And I think Todd, after I left, Todd has carried on and done a really good job of extending that plan and making sure that downtown Montgomery and the city as a whole continues to prosper.
Bobby, you know, talking about that, I was talking to Todd Strange one day on this same show about 3 years ago, and it was the state government had taken such a gigantic hit that the economy was down, and they'd lost a lot of state employees. And I said, Todd, I know y'all are feeling the effects in Montgomery of the downturn economy. Growing up in Troy, I'd always assumed, as a cursory look at Montgomery, that Montgomery's biggest employer was state government. And he said, well, you know, it is hard, but and I made the statement, I know it's y'all's biggest. He said, no, it's not our biggest employer. And I said, well, is Hyundai bigger than that now? He says, no,
Nope.
Maxwell Gunner.
Maxwell Gunner is the biggest employer.
He told me, and I had no idea. You knew that as mayor, but then going back to what you just said, if you go through any of these neighborhoods in your congressional district, Montgomery, all of Montgomery, it's got retired military officers.
All over the place.
And they're the best citizens.
Absolutely.
I mean, they do everything, do civic stuff and everything.
You know, you mentioned early on that I'm as a candidate for Congress, and my campaign manager, because they're so good at management, is Al Allenbeck, Colonel retired from Maxwell Air Force Base. He and his wife live here in Montgomery, make Montgomery their permanent home now. But he was, when I was mayor of Montgomery, he was considered the mayor of Maxwell Air Force Base. He was the commander of Maxwell. Very detailed, very dependable, and very matter of fact, and very work oriented. And so we get some really good benefits from Maxwell and from Fort Rooker, I'm sure down in the Wiregrass area, because good, responsible, educated, dedicated, loyal, patriotic citizens come here, they stay here, and they help make our community a much better place.
Bobby, you know you were born almost perfectly for that congressional district because you were born and raised in the Wiregrass.
I was.
And then grew up there and went to Ozark Carroll High School, then went to Enterprise where you were Mr. Bo Weevil.
That's right. I was a big pest, my wife said. that was a fitting title.
And then since then you've been mayor of Montgomery and served 2 years in this congressional seat. And I sat on the set of Channel 8. You were probably watching the night of the election, and I said, well, Mickey Mouse would have won that race, you know, as a Republican that night. I believe that's right.
You probably didn't make too many friends from one side.
No, I didn't. But I mean, it was like people would pull the Republican lever.
Yeah, they were.
And I said in this, and I've said it continuously since then, had you run as a Republican at that time, you'd have won that race going away, because I'm not trying to take away from Bill Dickinson or Terry Everett, and they both served a long time.
They did.
Bill served 28 years.
Wow.
And Everett served 16 or so. And they both, like you say, were on the right committees. Bill rose to be the ranking Republican on Armed Services.
He sure did, and had a lot of influence.
He sure did.
And I would go as far as to say is Maxwell and Rooker are still here
because of
Bill Dickinson.
And not just that, but we got some plants in my county. Sikorsky.
Oh, yes.
And Lockheed are there because of Bill.
And these are high-quality jobs. These are not minimum wage jobs. These are good-paying jobs and being furnished to the local citizens of your county.
And the thing about it is, Bill never really took credit for that.
No, he didn't.
But I guarantee you, I was in the legislature, and we went and got the state plane, and we went to Orlando to see Lockheed Martin. We did the due diligence. But they just pretty much told me, the generals down there said, listen, Bill Dickinson told us it's going to go in my district.
That's the way you do it.
It's where this plant's going to go. And having said that, now I preface it by saying this, and I'm not saying because you're here, because I've said it to you on television repeatedly, but you did more leg work like a regular congressman than old Bill and Everett did put together for their 40 years. Because Bill didn't like the campaign. He liked being a congressman. He was a good congressman.
He was really
good. He was fit to congressman.
Yeah.
But I worked for him in high school and college.
Yeah.
And Bill didn't like the campaign. You liked the campaign.
I love meeting people.
You got out there and you knew the people. I
We-
mean, you go down 231, every one of those people know who you are.
I love going to Julia's down in Troy, and I consider that my Central Alabama
They
headquarters.
call you Bobby.
I know. I walk in there and they start reaching in their pocket, because down there they've got a little tradition at I call it the liars table at Julia's, where all the men will come in early in the morning. They'll be sitting around drinking coffee, and then before they leave, they'll flip the coin to see who's going to buy all the coffee. Guess what? I went down there the other day and I lost. And somebody said they had rigged it somewhere. Now, I don't see how they did, but I wound up having to pay for all the coffees anyway.
They all know you there, and they all call you Bobby.
They do.
And people vote for the person in that district, and if they got, and after they vote for the, they're gonna vote in November probably for a Republican, but
They will.
in that primary they're gonna vote for the person, and for those mayors down there were sick when you left, because you've done a lot in just 2 years.
We had 93 incorporated jurisdictions in the city, in District 2 when I was in Congress. We visited every one of them, not one time, but a number of times. Many of them more than 5 or 6 times, but all of them at least twice during the time we were there, over a period of just 2 years. And I miss being able to go out there and visit with them and see them. I still get calls from them right now. I want to know when I'm going to get back in, when am I going to run. And I was talking a little earlier to someone, and I told them, you know what, I'm not running because Bobby Bright wants to get back in politics, because I could live on the riverbank up there on my farm, and I've got a little lake and a little island that a lot of folks come from all over the world to visit. I'm getting back in because I feel a degree of responsibility to the people in District 2 in Alabama to do the very best job I possibly can. They deserve a strong, honest, mature representative, and that's what we offer, and that's what we're going to give them when we're back in the office.
Bobby, you and Lynn, how many children y'all have?
We have 3.
They all grown, aren't they?
They're all grown, married. They have 3 grandchildren among them, and we've got a 4th one just announced last weekend that we're going to have a 4th grandchild.
Are your 3 children in this area still? Are they out of?
They are. 2 of them.
Oh.
Well, 2 of them are. The 3rd one's in Alexandria, Virginia. She's in the Washington, D.C. area. She was a lawyer up there, married to a commercial airline pilot and a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force Reserve. So she's up there. He's doing his tour up there. They will be coming back to Alabama in July, and thank goodness she'll have her 2nd child, and she'll be here living with us, not living in the house, but living here locally, so we can help them when they have that child.
How old are your grandchildren?
My grandchildren start at 5, 2, and 1 that's about 3 months old.
They too little to campaign.
The 5-year-old wants to. She wants to go out with Pawpaw and do some campaigning, and she comes up.
Where does she live?
She lives here in Montgomery. My son and my daughter live in Montgomery with their families, and they love it. And I live. You know what? People think that I moved out of Montgomery. I haven't. What I did. I used to live in the East Montgomery, about 8 miles. I live now less than 5 miles from downtown Montgomery. From my farm, I live on my farm, by the way. I think I've taken a full circle. I was born and raised on the farm, and now I'm back on the farm. And from my front porch, I can see the skyline of downtown Montgomery.
From your farm?
I'm closer to downtown Montgomery than I was when I was living in Montgomery.
That's probably why a lot of folks have moved up there.
Well, it's pleasant. My wife and I are fortunate. We had a small farm when I was mayor of Montgomery, contiguous to her family. She's lost her mom and dad now. They live long lives, but they're no longer with us. And so she inherited half of the farm, And then we finally bought her other relatives out, her other sister out, and we own the farm and Jackson Lake Island. I got to put a plug in. Jackson Lake Island is a beautiful piece of property.
It's in Elmore at all?
It's just across the river in Elmore County, between Millbrook and Montgomery.
Is Lynn and Janice from up there originally?
No, they're born and raised in Montgomery, and we've kind of migrated to the farm over the years.
Yeah.
And the farm is just over the river in Elmore County. South of Millbrook, people want to think I live in Millbrook. I don't live in Millbrook. I live in Elmore County outside of Millbrook. I'm a Moronian now.
What's that stand for?
Just a Moroni, Elmore County.
Oh, okay.
Moronian is short for Elmore County.
You know.
But I still love and cherish what we've done in Montgomery and the people of Montgomery. We made a lot of good friends, and we still have a great number of them here.
I think you could be effective immediately, you know, up there, especially because as a Republican, you'll be in the majority.
We will. That's the good thing about me going back, and I don't have to take any type of training course. I can hit the pavement running. I know where the bones are buried, and I can go right straight to them and dig them up when we need to, and get some things going in this district. You know what's so key? Being a mayor gave me great opportunity and experience. It's the best training in the world to be in any kind of public service.
Especially a big city like Montgomery.
Well, let me tell you what's coming up. Everybody keeps talking, and the president's talking about this infrastructure that they're going to provide here in the next year. Over $1 trillion is going to be funneled into our nation to rebuild our highways and our bridges and our airports, places like that. I, as mayor, know how that operates, and I can go to Washington, and when they get that $1 trillion approved, I will be in there kicking and screaming and scratching and lobbying and doing whatever a representative needs to do to get some of those resources for District 2. I can do that, and I won't have to take a training course to be able to do it.
Bobby, you know, one thing that I've noticed over the years since reapportionment is that, you know, most Montgomeryans are not even aware of this. All those folks out at Wind Lakes and even Pike Road are not even in the 2nd District.
They're not. They're in District 3.
Well, they'll call you for constituent things.
Oh, yeah.
When you get to Congress, but you know, that's almost a travesty what's happened to them, because they really are just sort of sitting there. They're not your constituents because they don't vote for you. They may go in there. A lot of them are going to go in there on June 5th, then they're going to vote for you.
Let me tell you another thing, Steve, that's really a travesty, and that is Montgomery is divided into 3 different representative districts, 2, 1, and 7. And Montgomery really, to be able to be a force out there, it really needs their one good representative that will go to Washington and lobby for them. I said that a number of years, and I still believe that. But we've got political parties that sometimes control how the districts are drawn up. And when I was a Democrat, and I won it as a Democrat back in 2008, I lost it in 2010. There was a reapportionment and redrawing of the lines, and some people were concerned that I would turn around and run back again, and maybe without much problem win again. So they cut Montgomery, sliced Montgomery into 3 different areas, and it's sad to see that, but it's the hand that we've been dealt.
Did you have Wind Lakes before?
No.
And it was always been stuck over in the 3rd.
No, Wind Lakes was always in the 3rd, but they came a little bit further in to take in some more. And then we lost Lowndes County. It was the 16th county when I was congressman.
So Lowndes was in the 2nd.
Lowndes was in the 2nd when I was in Congress, and West Montgomery was in the 2nd too. Much of West Montgomery now, including right there at Maxwell Air Force Base, is in district in Terry Sewell's district. So that's sad, because you've got so many different representatives, and they've divided Montgomery up to where the vote's so divided that Montgomery can't really have a majority representative.
But the thing about it is, there's been such a migration of Montgomeryans to Elmore and Autauga County that I was looking, I didn't even realize this, that Elmore is the 2nd most populous county in that district population-wise.
You're right, it is.
It's bigger than Houston.
It is.
Votes more people.
Yeah. Elmore Well, Houston, when you look at in elections, when you look at parties, Houston has more Republicans in it, voting in it, than Montgomery does, because of what we just said.
Right.
Montgomery's been divided up in 3 different sections, but Montgomery is right there with it. It's, I think in the last election it was like 80 votes.
How about
fewer.
Elmore? Maybe the biggest. In
Elmore is the 3rd largest.
So it's Houston, Montgomery, and Elmore.
It's Houston and Montgomery. On any election, it could swap.
In the Republican primary.
In the Republican primary. Elmore's 3rd. 4th is Autauga. And 5th is Coffee County. 5th is 6th is Dale County. And Pike is right next to Dale County, I believe.
Let me ask you this. The folks in Houston County, did they delineate the fact that Congress has an effect on Rucker and that's their most prevalent issue? What issue you get asked most about in Houston as opposed to Elmore?
Oh, they're very aware in Houston of Fort Rucker and the impact.
They got to be if they're from there.
They're very conscious of that. We don't have anyone on the Armed Services Committee. My successor got off the Armed Services Committee and got off the Agriculture Committee, and to me, that is really sad because those 2 committees have so much
I agree.
impact on our people that live here. So if I get back in Congress, my priority will be to get back on those 2 major. The Armed Services is the most powerful committee in Washington.
Well, for this district too.
And for this district.
I mean, you know.
And agriculture because of the farmers here in the district. So
if you took farming and Maxwell Gunter and Rucker out of the 2nd district, I mean, you know, that's what this district is drawn up for a congressman.
You're right.
To be on those 2 committees.
Well, Bill Dixon recognized that. Terry Everett recognized that. I was offered appropriations whenever I was in D.C. And you know what? I didn't blink an eye. I said, no way. No way. I'm not going to leave my people behind. And what you do is, in Washington, certain committees have a little bit more prestige than others. The powerful armed services and agriculture are hard. They're powerful. They're important. Appropriations is considered in Washington as being a more lucrative committee, and you get a little bit more popularity in Washington with the appropriations. But these 2 are the 2 working committees. You can't do anything up here in appropriations if you don't have first someone to come up with a project or a mission down in the armed services or the agriculture. So this is not going to help the people in Alabama if you don't have somebody down here to help create the project or the mission for them to fund.
I agree with you. I think it's ludicrous that whoever's in this congressional district will be on armed services.
They have to be. It's so critical.
You know, Rogers is the only person in the delegation on agriculture now.
That's right.
I used to always respect Senator Heflin when he was a U.S. Senator because, as you said, agriculture is important to our district, but you know, the thing people do in Washington is raise money all the time.
All the time.
That's not a fundraising committee. Agriculture is not a raising. And Heflin gravitated. He served on judiciary and agriculture.
Very important committee.
For this state it was.
You're right.
He saved the peanut program.
He sure did.
Single-handedly saved it.
He sure did. He was a factor in Washington. He was your country gentleman. As they termed it, in Washington, had that deep Southern drawl. Wow, he could be sitting in a dark room, or you could be in a dark room, or in a room with a wall between you and him, and he could start talking with a group of other folks, and you knew exactly who he was, because he shined because he had that Southern drawl, but he was very well educated and very smart. And he used it to his benefit up there. They loved it.
Oh yeah, he was a good old guy.
Yeah,
I loved old Judge. He was a good guy. He liked you too.
Did you know that he was instrumental in getting our judicial system updated? We were the laughingstock of the country with our judicial system before he became Supreme Court Chief Justice. He became Chief Justice, lobbied for and worked for to renovate.
Fought Wallace on it.
He sure did. To establish a new judicial system in Alabama. He got it passed. And then for years, a number of years, our court system was considered the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
That was when my wife was serving.
I know. Heflin and I were good friends. He loved to call me Tree, but he pronounced it Trey. Trey, like Tray. He said Trey. And I spent the last few weeks with old Heffin. I went up to Tuscumbia, and he had a repertoire of jokes that was unreal.
Oh, I bet.
He was a great storyteller, and I wrote a book on Alabama political stories, and he says, Tree, you can have my stories and put some of my funny jokes in the back of your book, and but give me credit for them. And so back in my book, Goats and Governors, I got old Heffin's, these are some of Heffin's best jokes. He was a great storyteller.
He was.
He
was a good
loved
guy.
it.
He was a good great jurist
Oh, God,
on
yeah.
the Supreme Court. You wouldn't think so because he had such a deep Southern appearance and deep Southern.
He's like old Jesse Helms.
Yeah.
And the other guy from
Yeah.
up there with on the Watergate stuff.
Oh yeah. He was one of those long-time, old-time Southern Democrats.
He's last one.
He was.
You know,
he really was.
but he served on that agriculture committee,
And proud of it too. He was proud of it. You know,
yeah.
you can serve on certain committees and not know what you're serving on. And because of my farming background and my present farm, I live on my farm and I farm right now. People wanted to know why I didn't come back and run for mayor, or why I didn't come back and run again for a political office. You know what? I thought at the time I was through with politics. I was so disappointed in getting beat last time. I just said, you know, I'm going to live the rest of my life on my farm and just make it a successful farm. And agribusiness is what I'm doing up there now, and we're famous worldwide for what we've got up there. But there's just certain thing I can let go. And one thing I couldn't let go is helping and serving the people and giving them maximum strong representation in Washington, D.C. and representation that is truly representative of them, not what I want, but what they want.
That's what the job's about.
You're right.
Well, Bobby, our time's up. It goes by in a hurry, doesn't it?
God, I wish I could stay another hour.
Folks, our guest tonight has been former Congressman, former Mayor Bobby Bright of Montgomery and now Elmore County, and he is one of the candidates for Congress in the 2nd District for the June 5th primary, and he wants to go back to his old seat, and he's running as a Republican. It's a Republican seat, so he's probably running in the right party this time. And we thank him for being with us tonight. We thank you viewers for watching. Hope you tune in next week for This Week in Alabama Politics.